Hi everybody, my name is Kaylee and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, happy Saturday. This video may be a little bit later on in the day because life has just been lifing. That's really the only way to put it. Let's get into today's story time. I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. All right, y'all, are you excited? It is February, so all of the horror love stories are lined up and waiting for us to get into them. Oh, also real quick, I know this might be disappointing, but I don't know if I'm gonna do the Storytime Smash videos anymore, only because if I'm trying to focus on making longer form content, I kind of want to focus on that more rather than trying to get 2 videos out in 1 week. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments if you want the Storytime Smash Sunday videos to come out or you want me to just focus on doing more long form content like before. Anyways, so for those of you who may be new here, for most of the video I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that then you can leave.
There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people, period. Okay, so story time about how I found out that my boyfriend was still in love with his ex-girlfriend. We love that for me. Okay, so a little background information. I was 24 whenever this all happened, but per usual, we are going to start from the beginning. So when I was 22 years old, I had been working at this breakfast diner in my town that literally everybody went to. Because I'm not gonna lie, my town was pretty small, so there was barely anything to do and the places to eat were very limited. So, you know, I had regulars. You know, the old people who would come in every Sunday morning after church, and then you would have the couples that would come in every morning to get 1 cup of coffee, but stay from open until close. Now, even though we were a small town, there was a college campus like 20 minutes away, which was literally in the middle of nowhere. But because of this, we had a lot of people who would come to town, you know, students that would come in and out of town. And besides those regulars, there were a group of kids who were regulars as well, which was pretty unusual because it was only really old people and middle-aged people who would come to my work. But there was a boy named Jeremy, and he would come in with his group of best friends, Ava, Bianca, and Kevin. And as time went on, I found out a little bit more about them through overhearing almost all of their conversations. And yes, I would eavesdrop because there was literally nothing else to do except listen to other people's bullshit while I served them. Also, the only people that I would conversate with were the ones that would converse with me because I had really bad social anxiety. So I never talked to this group of kids unless I was getting their order or checking on them. So basically doing my job. Also, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of nice because I knew all the tea about almost everybody in my town. And my parents loved it too because I would go back and tell them everything. And I'm not gonna lie, my mom did have a problem with wanting to be the center of attention. So she loved being the gossip queen, the one who had all the secrets about everybody. Anyways, so I found out that they all went to school together and they've been friends for a few years. But this girl, Ava, seemed to be like the main person in that group. You know, the one person that you can tell is more important than everybody else in the friend group? If everybody had to pick one person that they could be friends with out of their friend group, it would be that person. Yeah, that was her, from what I gathered. Anyway, so, you know, like I said, they would come in every day, Monday through Friday, from like 1:30 in the afternoon until 3:30. But then one day they all just stopped coming, like every single one of them. I didn't see Ava, Jeremy, Bianca, or Kevin for like 3 months. Well, the one day I was working and it was a Wednesday about 30 minutes before close when Jeremy came in and sat down at the bar, and he was alone. He didn't have anybody else with him. But you know, I go over to him, get his order. I'm kind of annoyed because I just want to leave work. But he asked for a cup of coffee. I take it over to him and then I start mopping the floors. And all of a sudden he just starts talking to me, making regular small talk, you know, asking me if I live in town and how long I've been working there, blah, blah, blah. And then 20 minutes later, he asks for my phone number, which I was super shocked about, and then he leaves. And what I found even weirder was that when I went over to put his coffee cup in the garbage, he hadn't drank any of it. So then I'm kind of, you know, hyping myself up like, okay, sis, he came in just to get your phone number, because you're a badass bitch. But then that confidence was quickly destroyed whenever I hadn't heard from him for 2 weeks. Mind you, he got my phone number, I didn't get his, so I wasn't able to reach out to him, which I don't think I would have, because it's like, okay, you asked for my phone number, why didn't you hit me up? Be so for real.
Be fucking for real. Be fucking for real.
Anyways, you know how guys will like do something super sweet in the beginning and then all of a sudden they just go ghost? Like, you thought that you guys really vibed together? Yeah, that's what I thought happened here. Until 2 weeks later, he texts me and he's like, hey, it's Jeremy from the coffee shop. Sorry, I've been super busy. Can I take you out? And I was super excited because I was like, damn, he was very direct with that, you know? But I was also excited as hell because, to be honest, I had been trying to get out into the dating world a little bit because I had a situationship with some guy who went to the college that was 20 minutes away, but he was so wrapped up in partying and hanging out with his friends that he barely had any time for me. And I was over that shit. So obviously I jumped at the opportunity to find a new man, which when I think about it, I should have been healing from situationship, but it just didn't happen like that, you know? Anyway, so I tell him yes, and then fast forward to Friday night, he picks me up and drives me 40 minutes away to this restaurant, and I'm not gonna lie, I was low-key a little nervous because duh, kidnappers, like this is your classic abduction girl gone missing story. Anyway, so while we're eating dinner, I asked him about why him and his friends stopped coming to the diner, and he was telling me about how Bianca and Kevin were in a relationship and they broke up, which caused everybody to fall out with each other because everybody felt like they had to pick sides and it was just a mess. Now the date was going super well, right? But I found it a little bit weird that he really didn't talk about himself at all. Like, that was the only thing about him and his life that we had talked about. But he was asking me everything about my life, which I thought was kind of weird because he would also dodge any questions that I would ask him about his life or, you know, his prior dating life or anything like that, you know? But then again, I started thinking to myself, okay, maybe this is not a red flag because maybe this is what it's like to have somebody who's actually interested in you. I mean, shit, I wouldn't know. You're talking to the girl who thought that a guy asking to see me 3 times a week at 12 o'clock at night and ignoring all my calls meant that he was into me.
You stupid.
So then I decided not to see it as a red flag. Anyway, so after the date, he takes me back to my house and, you know, we say our goodbyes and say the usual, hey, thanks for taking me out, blah, 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 had a great time. And when I went inside, I talked my parents' ear off about how well the date went, and I was literally just so excited and happy I could not stop smiling. So, you know, I text him telling him to get home safe and thanks for taking me out. But that must have scared him away because after that, I didn't hear from him. Like, he never texted me back or called me. And I was thinking that maybe he would come to the diner to at least say hello.
Child. Anyway, so.
Which is so delusional of me because, bitch, if he's not answering your text message or your calls, why would he come see you at work? Be so for real. Be so for real. That is what I get for texting a guy first after the date. Like, what the F? Anyway, so fast forward a year. I kind of forgot about him and our date because my situationship and I were doing a little bit better. I mean, we were still on and off, but like I said, better than before. Well, you know, the new PlayStation comes out and my little brother wanted it really, really bad. So my parents said the only way that he would be able to go and get it was if I went with him. So obviously, because I'm the best big sister in the world, I pack some blankets and chairs up in the car and drive us to Target at like 10 o'clock at night all the way until they opened. And y'all, it was cold as fuck. Anyway, so you know, we get there and we are third in line, and as soon as we got in line, my 11-year-old brother with his hyper ass is talking to everybody else who's waiting in line. Like, he was so excited. It was actually so cute. Like, he's 11-year-old talking to 20 and 30-year-old men about video games, and like they're actually talking to him like one of their peers. Boys are just interesting. You know, this is actually funny because I have done this 2 times in my life. Like, whenever the PS5 came out, I waited outside of GameStop from 10 o'clock at night until they opened, and it was freezing cold. And then my dad wanted one, so we had to go on this website that shows what stores still have them in stock, and you just had to trust that hopefully they were right. But then I waited out in the freezing cold again for about 12 hours because this Target had one in stock, and my sister and I were in line first, and there were like 30 men standing behind us. My sister and I got the PlayStation. They were all mad as fuck. And we had to have a security guard walk us to the car because there was somebody who pulled out a gun. But yeah, I got them both times. Anyways, that was so off topic. I just like thought it was funny.
What's funny though? I'm like a fucking comedian to you?
But back to the story. So while I am sitting there playing on my phone, I realized that Jake, aka my little brother, who's like a few people behind us, and I recognize the voice, it's Jeremy and his friends. So I decided to go over to my little brother just to kind of make sure that it was known that I was there, because I wanted to see if he would say anything. So I go over and I'm like, hey Jake, you know, are you thirsty? If you're tired, you can go lay down in the car and I'll just wait out here. And I am definitely not acknowledging that Jeremy is there while I'm talking to my little brother. Like, you know, I bend down and I'm like, hey buddy, you know, are you tired? Are you thirsty? But then Jeremy's like, oh, hey, how are you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, hi, I didn't even recognize you. I've been great, how are you? Like, don't fucking act like we went on a date and then you didn't ghost me afterwards. Be so what? Be so fucking for real. So obviously we do the awkward small talk, and then Jake ends up falling asleep, so I take him to the car, and Jeremy's friends fell asleep too. They like literally brought sleeping bags. But yeah, him and I were talking for hours, like from the time that Jake fell asleep all the way up until Target opened. And then somehow we get to talking about our date, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed when you didn't call me. And he just like sat there for a minute because I don't think that he thought I was gonna bring it up, because, you know, bringing up certain stuff like that's kind of awkward, you know, when you're calling somebody out. But then he goes, yeah, I'm so sorry. I was super busy with life and school and family. And then after that, I was like, oh, okay. And there was just like an awkward silence. But then he goes, I mean, things have definitely slowed down now. Like, my days are less busy, so we should pick up where we left off. And then I go, I mean, sure, I'm down for that, but are you sure? Because I didn't even get a call or a text back. You kind of bruised my ego a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. And then he goes, no, I definitely want to talk more. In all honesty, I thought about reaching back out to you, but I was kind of embarrassed that I never did call or text you back.
Now, I hate when people lie. Do not lie.
I'm really not gonna lie though, like, I was super hesitant about giving this another chance because, listen, things with my situationship were going pretty good, and I didn't want to ruin that because that has been months of effort. So yeah, I didn't want to ruin all that progress with some lousy, pointless fantasy / delusion of being with a guy that I went on a date with once and who he never called me back, if that even just made sense. Y'all get what I'm talking about though. But I'm also saying that I don't want to ruin this because yeah, I could play my situationship and this man at the same time, but somehow my situationship found out that I went on a date with Jeremy. Now that I think about it, actually, I was putting in more effort than just a few months to that situationship. But that's besides the point. He found out about it. And then he literally blocked me for a fucking week, which was so doubled standards because he also had been talking to 3 other girls at the same time. Anyways, this story isn't about that asshole, so let me get on with it. So obviously, I end up giving Jeremy a second chance, or else we would not be sitting here talking about this bullshit. Anyways, so for like the next 2 months, we were on the road to a relationship. Like, we were going on dates, hanging out quite often, FaceTiming almost all the time, and texting each other routinely. But then, just as I thought that things were getting good, and he was gonna ask me to be his girlfriend soon, he starts to ghost me.
Got him! Emotional, damn it!
And I don't mean ghost as in completely block me on everything and never speak to me again. No, I mean he would fall off the face of the earth 1 week, and then the next week he would be acting like nothing ever happened and like we were still doing our shit. And I was pissed off, obviously, because how are you gonna go from us being on FaceTime with each other every single day, seeing each other every single day, to then the next week I would text him in the morning, but I wouldn't get a text back from him until like 11 at night saying, hey, sorry, been busy today, good night. Like, what the actual fuck? So yeah, I was getting annoyed, to say the least, because I felt like I was right back in my situationship. You know, I was always available whenever he wanted to talk, but then whenever I wanted to talk to him, he was nowhere to be found. I started to feel like he would only call me whenever he had nobody else to listen to him. Because this man knew that he had me in the palm of his hand, and he knew that I actually liked him, so he was really taking advantage of that. But I don't want to say anything to him about it, because I don't want to come off as clingy or obsessed or crazy, because, you know, him and I weren't dating. There was no commitment for him to talk to me or hang out with me. It was just morally wrong. Like, technically, no commitment. Morally, there was one. Anyway, so finally the 1 week when him and I are doing good, I decide to address the situation because I was not about to let this go on any longer. Mainly because if he did ghost me again, I think that I probably would end up in a fucking mental hospital. Because why are you playing with my feelings? Like, if I wanted to deal with this, I would have just stayed with my situationship. Because with him, at least I knew what to expect. You know, he's not setting the bar real high for himself. He let it be known that he was a piece of shit. Anyways, so, you know, the one night we are at the drive-in and we're sitting in the car and the movie's about to start, and my plan was to talk to him about it on the way home, but like my brain had just been running wild with thoughts that I literally just like couldn't contain myself anymore. So I look at him and I'm like, we need to talk. And he's like, okay, like, is everything good? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay, and everything is not good. Like, I'm tired of you acting like we're in a relationship 1 week and then acting like I don't exist the next. Like, this is not fair to me. I don't know what game you're playing, but I don't want to be a part of it. And before I let this man interrupt me and try to invalidate my feelings, I was like, listen, I don't like giving ultimatums, but it's either we make things official or we just stay friends and stop doing all this extra bullshit. Like, there's no reason for us to be acting like we're in a relationship when we're not in one. Period, point blank. And he was like, listen, I was gonna ask you to be my girlfriend tomorrow at lunch.
Get him the fuck out of here.
Why the fuck you lying?
And then I got super excited and I was like, really?
Really?
No.
And he was like, yeah. But then after, I was like, wait a minute. You were literally just ghosting me on and off. And I'm like, okay, we're in a relationship, but what's your excuse for acting like I don't exist one day and then being all over me and lovey-dovey the next? And then he goes, listen, I've just been dealing with some stuff with my family and school's been super busy. And he goes, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. So then I just let it go because, you know, we're in a relationship, we're gonna start fresh. He said it wouldn't happen again. So now him and I are in a relationship, things are back to normal. You know, we're going on dates and the communication is way more steady. But of course, we just happened to get into a relationship around the holidays, which I was happy about because, you know, duh, I wanted to meet his family. But this actually couldn't have been more of a disaster. Because here's the thing, right? I've never brought anybody home to meet my parents before. So the fact that I was actually bringing a guy home to my house on Thanksgiving to meet my family, everybody was super excited. You know, like I finally had a boyfriend. But you know, my family was super inviting and nice. You know, everybody made him feel right at home. But you know, after we get done at my family's house, we go to his family's. And I just want to say something right now, okay? I never knew about any ex-girlfriends. Like, he had never mentioned any previous relationships. So I just figured that he never had one. Also, he never showed any signs of being in a long-term relationship before me. And trust me, I know the signs because I had talked to a guy who'd been in a long-term relationship before me. And yeah, they're just signs to look out for, you know, like them comparing situations to situations with their other partner and yada da. Yeah. Anyways, so in this case, none of those signs were present. So I thought that I was the very first girl that he had ever been with. How naive of me. And I thought that I was the first girl that he was ever introducing to his family. So as soon as we walk in, I realized that his family really overdoes it for the holidays because literally all of his family was there. But you know, his dad and his grandma made me feel super welcomed, his little brother as well. But when it came to his mom and his older sister, I hadn't even said one word to them and I already felt them giving me the cold shoulder. Like before I even got the chance to introduce myself. Like his sister and his mom were standing at the island putting some of the food out and you know, I didn't want to get into their way, so I kind of stood a little bit farther away and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm your son's new girlfriend. And then his mom goes, hi, can you get out of my way please? And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, like, I get it, you know, like it's Thanksgiving, like don't get in the fucking kitchen, especially if you're not the one cooking. But like, I wasn't even in the kitchen and I was not anywhere where I could have been in her way. Yeah, I could just immediately tell that she did not like me. Y'all, my mom's side of the family is super Italian and when she's cooking, you do not want to be in the fucking kitchen because she would beat your ass. Like my sister and I were running around the kitchen the one time while she was trying to cook her dinner. Let's just put it this way, we never did that shit again. Anyways, back to the story. So after that, I thought that, you know, okay, they don't like me. It is what it is. I don't really have to worry about them bothering me because they just seem to want nothing to do with me. But then when everybody is sitting down to dinner, the interrogation begins. His mom was like, where do you work? Da da da. And I thought she was just being curious at first, you know, and I thought maybe I caught her when she was in a bad mood in the kitchen. But you know, I tell her, yeah, I work at the diner, you know, da da da. And she's like, well, what are you gonna do with your life if you're not going to college? Do you know how hard it is to find a good paying job if you don't go to school? And I thought it was funny. I didn't even feel the need to explain to her that the reason why I didn't have any desire to go to college was because my dad owned his own business and I was going to be taking over it soon. But yeah, I just had no desire to do that because I was not about to sit there and have a pissing match with her. And I knew that even if I told her that, she still would have something against me or something to pick at. But yeah, and then her sister was like, oh, you guys met at a diner? That's not really romantic. Yeah, guys, it was actually just like really bad. Like his sister was giving me a dirty look, you know, when the mom was interrogating me, when the sister was, you know, making her nasty comments, the mom was sitting there looking, you know, at me with a dirty look, and everybody else who's sitting at the table was just like looking around like this is awkward as fuck. Eventually it got to the point where Jeremy's dad had to step in. Like he gave her the look and said her name in like a super deep tone. He was like, Anne, can we please talk about something else? As much as it's been fun playing the let's get to know everything about Jeremy's new girlfriend, I would like to talk about something else. And then he looks at me and he's like, no offense. Which you guys think may have been rude, but I know he was just kind of saving me from the conversation because after he said that, you know, everybody gets to talking and he looks at me and he like winks at me like, I got you. So yeah, I was super thankful for that. So fast forward, thankfully the holidays are over. I don't have to deal with their bullshit again. I mean, it was nice to know that I got along with some of his family, like his grandma and his dad, and his younger brother was actually really nice to me as well. Like after that day, you know, Thanksgiving, he texted me and he was like, hey, are you okay? I'm so sorry about my family. They're so embarrassing. Like he was apologizing more than Jeremy did. And I was like, hey, yeah, I'm good. Thank you. You know, But yeah, he had actually started like texting me religiously, but I didn't mind it because, you know, I wanted to be close with at least some of his family members. Because I feel like it's so hard in a relationship when you don't have their family on your side, you know, because if you guys fight, they're not gonna, you know, try to stick up for you or anything like that, or kind of try to rationalize and be like, yeah, well, maybe this, you know, yeah, maybe that. Anyway, so fast forward, I'm still working at the diner and Jeremy was working at this daycare down the street, and he usually worked like a later shift from, I would say, like 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And the one night he texted me and he's like, hey, I wasn't able to eat dinner before work. Could you come drop me off something? Of course I say yes, and I pack up some of the leftovers from dinner with my family that night, and I drive over to the daycare, and when I walk up to the lady at the front, she's like, hey, Jeremy's actually putting some of the kids down to sleep. Would you mind putting this in his locker? So, you know, she tells me his locker number, and then I go to put it in his locker, and y'all will never guess what I found in there. I was in literal shock. It felt like somebody had just ripped my heart out, stomped on it, and then cut it up into a million pieces, and then threw it in a dumpster and lit it on fire. Because as soon as I open up that locker, a picture fell on the ground, and I go to pick it up, and it's a picture of him and some girl. And I'm looking at it a little bit closer, and then I realize it's that Ava girl from the diner. And I thought the same thing y'all are probably thinking. You know, maybe they're just friends, and it's a picture of them. You know, you hang up pictures of your friends. I'm just kidding. I know you guys weren't thinking that. I wasn't thinking that either. I know we're all thinking the worst. But in that moment, I was trying to think rationally. Because what was the reason to be rational about this bullshit? So, you know, when I stand back up from picking up the picture off the ground, I look in the locker again, and I see a letter hanging up with a magnet.
Oh, hell no. I don't even want to do no research on that shit.
And it has hearts all over it. And it says, from Ava to Jeremy. And then I look closer to the letter, and when I saw the date on the letter, it pissed me off even more. Because it had been written a week before he asked me to be his girlfriend. I didn't read the rest of the letter because I really couldn't stomach it at the time. I actually just closed his locker, took the dinner up to the lady at the front. I was like, hey, I couldn't find his locker. Can you just give this to him? Because I had to be strategic about the way that I was going to confront him. I didn't want him to know that I saw the locker because I didn't want to give him any time to try to think of an excuse as to why, yeah, just as to why. And as much as I wanted to go in there and punch him, I did not, because he was putting children to bed. So it's about 9 o'clock at night, right? After I leave, I'm like, hey, just dropped it off with the lady at the front. Is there any way that I could go to your house and hang out? I don't want to be home. My parents are fighting. Which was literally such a lie because my parents never fought with each other. They were actually like the definition of perfect. But he says yes, and I drive over to his house. And I've never gone through any of his shit. He's never given me a reason to, you know, like never went through his phone. Also, I'm just not the snooping type. But I was on a fucking mission to find out everything about him and this Ava girl that he has never once mentioned to me. Thankfully, whenever I got to his house, his parents were gone. You know, they're out with their friends. The only person that was home was his younger brother. So I go right inside and I take my ass up to his room. I start ripping shit apart. I'm ripping things out of the closet. I'm going through all of his drawers, and then I see his laptop laying on his bed. So I go over to it, I open it, and the screensaver is a picture of him and Ava kissing. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I see a pink sparkly box on the floor under his desk, under some books. So I go over, I grab that. And when I open it up, I start bawling my eyes out. There had to have been over 100 letters that they had written to each other in that box. There was also a jewelry box in there, and when I opened it up, it had a ring inside. Literally an engagement ring. And then there was also a diamond bracelet, and it had a bar on it that had, I'm guessing, the date that they started dating.
I'm done. Cut the show. I'm done.
Engraved into it. I didn't even read the letters because once again, I couldn't stomach it. I just knew that I probably would have started a fire with those letters and burned his whole house down. So, you know, I shut the box. I'm looking around the rest of the room and I don't find anything else. So, you know, I'm putting all of his shit back and then I look back over his computer and I'm like, there is shit in there. I try and put in his phone password, which is my birthday, and it didn't work. And on Apple computers, it'll give you like a hint if you get the password wrong. And the hint came up as 896, which were all numbers in the date that him and Ava had started dating. So I type in their anniversary date or whatever, and boom, I'm in. And that is when I found all of the proof that I needed to know that he was not over his ex-girlfriend Ava. And as much as I wanted to hate this girl, I couldn't. Throughout the text messages, she did nothing but try to tell him that he had to move on and they can't be together. And you know, she was like, you need to give this new relationship that you have a fair chance, you know? Like, for example, when I was going back through their texts, I saw that a month before this, he showed up to her house in the middle of the night and proposed to her on her birthday. Well, I guess he didn't actually propose to her because when I was going through the messages, she sent a video over from their outdoor camera that they have. And it was him on one knee talking to the camera, opening up the box, asking her to marry him. And then he left the box with the ring inside and the letters, because for some reason he just loves to write love letters to everybody but his fucking girlfriend. But yeah, she sent this video to him and she was like,
"This is so inappropriate, Jeremy. You have a girlfriend and I have explained to you multiple times on why we cannot be together. I gave the ring and the necklace back to your mother, and you lied to me in that letter because she told me that you were still in a relationship with that girl."
Oh, and during this, I realized that the necklace that he bought for me, just because he loved me, was actually a necklace that he tried to give her for her birthday, along with the engagement ring. Anyway, so as I'm going through the text messages, you know, after that, he's like, her and I are not together. She knows what this is. She knows that I'm still in love with you, and you know that she means nothing to me. And then he goes, "Please, Ava, I need you. Like, I want you to be my wife. I want you to be the mother of my kids." And then she just stopped responding to him and he keeps going. He's like, "I need you. I can't live without you. Don't do this to me." Like, how about don't do this to me? Ugh, men. Now, even without all of that lovey-dovey shit that he was sending her, you could tell that he still had feelings with her by the way that he would text her. Like, she would go days without texting him and then he would be like, "Have a good day, I love you, you're the best girl in the world, don't let anybody ever tell you different." And he has never texted me anything like that ever. If anything, I think that he actually forgets that he has a girlfriend most of the time, because he'll forget to check in with me until I text him in the middle of the day and I'm like, "Hey, like, are you alive?" So obviously at this point I'm bawling my eyes out, you know, basically scream crying. And then Greg, his younger brother, comes into the room. And this kid knew exactly what I was crying about, because he comes in and he sits next to me and he hugs me and he's like, "I'm so sorry. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I've known about this, everybody has, but," and you know, I'm like, "How long has this been going on?" And he's like, he's been trying to get back together with her since they broke up like 2 years ago. And he's like, "You know, but I'm his brother, so obviously I would never tell you, you know, can't betray him like that. But if it does make a difference, I've always told him that it was wrong."
Oh my God! Wow!
"Because I've always thought that you've deserved better, you know, you're literally perfect." So then he asked me if I wanted to go and get something to eat because Jeremy was going to be home and I didn't want Jeremy to see me like this. And I didn't want my parents to know what was going on. So I didn't want to go home, at least right away. So, you know, we go out to eat and we have a few drinks, and you guys probably know what's going to happen next. Yes, we did end up doing the nasty. Listen, I'm not proud of myself, okay? But I was feeling super vulnerable, super upset, and confused, you know? Like, I just found out that my boyfriend, the only person that I've actually ever been in love with, never even loved me. So yeah, we went back to his car, we did the nasty, and we never actually got the chance to drive home So we woke up in his car, and when we woke up, I was like, hey, please don't tell your brother about this. And he was like, don't worry, I won't. But you do need to talk to him about this, and I really think that you should leave him, because I'm not even trying to be a dick. I'm really just trying to help you out. He is never going to leave. Like, he has been in love with that girl since high school. I didn't even know that they knew each other since then. So that was just great, you know? And you know, I appreciated the honesty, but ouch, that really fucking hurt. So I text Jeremy and I'm like, hey, we need to talk. And then he texts me back and he's like, I'm really tired from work, can this wait? And I don't even reply to him because no, it couldn't wait. And I was just gonna show up there because, yeah.
Damn. He don't got a clue in the fucking world.
So I go home, I clean myself up, you know, get a shower and everything. And then I show up at his house, I walk up into his room.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And I'm like, hey, we need to talk. And he's like, bro, I told you I was tired. And I was like, no, we need to talk. I was like, I know about Ava. And I was like, listen, before you say anything, it is either me or her, because I cannot be in a relationship with somebody who is not putting in 100%. Like, I've always trusted you, and then to find out that you never even loved me, it's just fucking ridiculous. Like, we've been together for over a year, and the only way that our relationship will work is if you never speak to her again. Like, if you want to be in this relationship, you need to block her on everything. You need to tell her why you guys cannot speak. I want everything of your guys's gone. I want the letters thrown away. And as I'm going on, he just interrupts me and he's like, no, I'm not going to do any of that. And he was like, you love giving ultimatums, because that's exactly what got us into this situation in the first place. You gave me an ultimatum. I told you I wasn't ready to be in a relationship with you. A few weeks before, you had forced me into being with you. And now you're giving me another ultimatum, which is just going to make things worse than they already are. I'm still in love with her. I can't physically keep myself away from her.
Oh my God.
After this, I'm stunned, and I take off the necklace and I throw it at him. And you know, there was a part of me that really wanted to freak out on him and ask him what is so special about this Ava girl. But in the end, I realized that me asking him those questions is just gonna hurt me more than it hurts him, because I realized that there was nothing that I could do or say that would make him stop being in love with this girl. Which is why I want to put in here, listen, if there is any communication the person you are with is having with their ex, you need to make sure yourself that there is nothing there, feelings wise. Because listen, some people can be friends with their exes. Some people can. Some people cannot, because some people still hold on to certain feelings, and if given the chance, they will slip through the cracks. And usually those feelings end up being stronger than the feelings that they have for you, because you know that person's familiar, that might have been their first love. You need to make sure for yourself, and if you see the signs, you need to leave, because in the end you are hurting yourself. Is it fair of them to try to pursue a relationship with you when they know they're not over their ex? No, it's not. But at the end of the day, we can't control our feelings, okay? We can, but given the opportunity to get back with the person that you were in love with, I don't know about y'all, but I would jump, seriously, because YOLO. And I'd rather be happy with the person that I love than unhappy with somebody that I love but not love as much, if that makes sense. I'm just being real. Don't hate on me. Anyway, so after this, Greg really ended up being there for me a lot, aka his younger brother, which I was super grateful for, and we actually started dating. After about a month of us hanging out, he had asked me to go on a date, and he's been amazing this whole time. I'm not gonna lie, at first I did date him in hopes of sparking some jealousy in Jeremy. You know, like hopefully he would realize that he really did love me. And it wasn't that I was gonna get back together with him, it's just that it still hurts me to know that I went through a relationship with somebody and wasted time with someone who didn't actually want to be with me. Anyways, but after a month, that whole charade was over, and he never showed any emotion when it came to me and Greg being together. And I'm not gonna lie, after that, family gatherings at their house were very awkward. His mother hates me now more than ever, and his sister is always posting very direct but indirect shit about me on Facebook. And Greg has tried talking to his mom and his sister about it. Jeremy's even tried talking to them about it and been like, listen, I'm not mad, but yeah. And because the mom is on the sister's side, she doesn't see anything wrong with posting about me on the internet. Fast forward though, Greg and I have a son together who is now 3 years old, and Jeremy is still in love with Ava. I've seen her around a couple of times because I think that she's tried giving him another chance, but I don't think that things worked, and I don't really like talking to Jeremy about that, to be honest. That is a sore subject for me. That girl Ava, I don't know her, she doesn't really know me, but there's a lot of damage done that has to do with her. But surprisingly, Greg, Jeremy, and I all still have a pretty good relationship with each other, and Jeremy is actually really good with our son. Like, he genuinely loves his nephew like his own. He's always asking if we need him to babysit, and when we don't need him to babysit, he's always asking if he can go and, you know, take him to the mall to go buy some toys, or, you know, just like anything like that. I think it's the sweetest thing in the world. Ultimately, I'm happy about the way that things ended and turned out for me in the end. But ladies, look for the signs. This was a very traumatic situation for me, believe it or not, because this was the first guy that I ever loved and I never saw it coming. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know whenever I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. And if you guys want to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to know how to send in an anonymous story time, make sure to click the links down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys next Saturday with a new story time.